Buckle up, everyone. We're diving deep into the world of regulatory fines and enforcement actions in 2024.
Ooh, sounds exciting.
It is, actually. We've got this report from ACMS, AFC Bulletin, Regulatory and Enforcement Bulletin, 2024 Year-End Review.
Okay, I'm familiar with that one.
And, well, let me tell you, it's a bit of a wild ride. We're seeing a surge in fines, especially targeting virtual asset service providers. You know, your cryptocurrency exchanges and such.
Right, VASPs.
Exactly. And of course, the banking sector isn't exactly off the hook either.
Mm-hmm.
The big focus here, fraud prevention. And the numbers are, well, they're pretty eye-popping. We're talking a total of $25 billion in fines across a whopping 474 cases.
Wow, $25 billion. That's a lot.
It is. So to help us make sense of all this, we've got our expert here today. They've been deep in the trenches with this report. So what's the biggest thing that jumped out at you from all this data?
Honestly, the sheer scale of the fines. I mean, we're not just seeing more fines, we're seeing bigger fines, like way bigger.
Give me an example. What's the biggest one you saw?
Well, the one that really made headlines was the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the CFTC, hitting FTX and Alameda Research with an $11 billion forfeiture.
How $11 billion?
$11 billion. A record breaker.
Wow. Okay, so that's a huge number. But what does it actually mean? Like, what were they doing that was so bad?
Yeah.
This report mentions orchestrating fraudulent schemes, but that's pretty vague.
Yeah, it's not just a slap on the wrist. Basically, FTX was accused of misusing customer funds, lying to investors. It was deliberate manipulation, not just a mistake.
So the CFTC really dropped the hammer.
They did, and I think it sends a very clear message to the whole crypto world. Regulators are watching,
Yeah.
and they're not going to tolerate this kind of behavior.
Interesting. So it's not just about punishing wrongdoing, it's about setting a precedent.
Exactly.
Now, this FTX case obviously happened in the U.S., but the report makes it clear that this isn't just a U.S. thing. These enforcement actions are happening all over the globe, 34 different countries to be exact.
Right, the global trend.
But there are some interesting regional differences, right?
Oh, definitely. For instance, Europe actually had the most cases.
Really? More than the U.S.?
Yep. But the U.S. imposed the highest total fines.
Huh. So what's going on there? Are they just going after different things?
Yeah, I think it reflects different approaches to regulation. The EU tends to focus more on data protection and consumer rights. They issue a lot of smaller fines. The U.S., on the other hand, prioritizes market integrity and financial stability. So they go for those headline-grabbing mega fines.
So two different paths toward the same goal.
Exactly. A more stable and transparent financial system.
Makes sense. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about cryptocurrency. Because this report really zeroes in on VASPs, virtual asset service providers, you know, your cryptocurrency exchanges, wallet providers, all that.
The gateways to the crypto world.
Exactly. And it sounds like they're really feeling the heat right now.
Yeah, they're under intense scrutiny. Licensing, fraud detection, anti-money laundering protocols. Regulators are basically saying, you want to play in this space, you better step up your game.
Do you think this is a reaction to the explosion in crypto prices we've seen over the last few years?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely a factor. You have a new technology, rapid growth, and then as vulnerabilities are exposed, the regulators come knocking.
Makes sense. So all the scams and shady activities that popped up as crypto prices soared, those definitely put VASPs in the crosshairs.
Absolutely.
The report also highlighted sanctions evasion as a major focus in 2024. Particularly related to, well, you know, the usual suspects, Russia, Iran, North Korea.
Right. Sanctions have become incredibly complex, and companies are struggling to keep up. There's a lot of pressure to make sure they're not accidentally doing business with sanctioned entities.
Which, with global supply chains the way they are these days, can be tough to track.
It can be a nightmare. That's why having a solid compliance program is so crucial.
It's about being proactive, not just reacting when something goes wrong.
Exactly.
Now, it wasn't just the flashy crypto world and global sanctions that were targeted in 2024. Even traditional banking got caught in the net.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that one.
Me too. The UK's Solicitors Regulation Authority went after a bunch of law firms for AML compliance weaknesses. What were they missing?
Basic stuff, really. Poorly done customer risk ratings, sloppy ID verification, weak systems for detecting suspicious activity.
So a reminder that even in seemingly low-risk sectors, compliance is critical.
Absolutely. No one gets a free pass.
Okay, so the report boils all this down to three key takeaways. First up, increased regulatory scrutiny across the board. Nobody's flying under the radar anymore.
Nope. Regulators are sending a clear message: compliance is non-negotiable. And they're backing it up with action.
Second takeaway, heightened focus on crypto and VASPs, and it feels like this is just the beginning, right?
Oh, absolutely. As crypto becomes more integrated into the mainstream financial system, we can expect even more regulation. This is a space to watch, for sure.
And the third takeaway, the crackdown on sanctions evasion and trade restrictions, which, with all the geopolitical tension in the world right now, seems kind of inevitable.
Yeah, I agree. In times of global uncertainty, you always see increased scrutiny on sanctions and trade.
So big picture, what does all this mean? Well, it paints a picture of a rapidly changing regulatory landscape.
For sure.
And staying ahead of the curve, that's more important than ever.
Absolutely crucial.
So for everyone listening out there, here's the thought-provoking question for you. Given all these trends we've been talking about, what industries or activities do you think will face the most scrutiny in the coming years? Something to ponder as we wrap up.
Yeah, that's a good one to think about.
A huge thank you to our expert for joining us today and sharing all their insights.
It is my pleasure.
And to all of you listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
See you then.